Hey, Chris Jenkins, credentialed member of the media, covering the Carolina Panthers for Charlotte Vibe, aka Man of the People, here with another update for you regarding this Carolina Panthers team as we're getting one step closer to the 2025 season. OTAs, mini camps, all that jazz. But right now, we got a little continuation of talking about the Carolina Panthers 2025 schedule. So the schedule came out, as we all know, yesterday. I'm going to put on the screen for you again real quick so we can just all make sure that we're familiar with this. Starting week one in Jacksonville, two road games to start off the season, Jacksonville, Arizona. And then we go off to Atlanta. Geez, what am I doing? Let me start over one more time. Hey, I guess this is what happens sometimes when you get a late night live from Charlotte Vibe. It's like I'm all over. But take three, it's live. You guys see my retakes. Here we go. Quick recap from the schedule of yesterday's that was released, and then we're going to go ahead and show Dave Canales' comment on some of these things regarding the schedule. So the schedule, we start out on the road, 2 games in a row. First at Jacksonville, then at Arizona. We come home for a minute, and then off to New England. So that's 3 out of 4. And then check this out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And we'll go to the second part. Lots of non-divisional games. And then we start back. With our divisional games in November. Yada, yada, yada. I'll let you see it there. Bye week is week 14. And then we end the season with quite a few division games. Break with Seattle. I said break as in a non-divisional game with Seattle. And then we end the season in Tampa Bay. So that is your full schedule that I want to quickly show you all so that you can have that at the top of your memories. And now, Dave Canales spoke with the media today, and he talked about the schedule that I just showed you. And he started off talking about this. You know what? Last year, first year as a head coach, he didn't have any primetime games. But he said, you know what? You got to earn it. So I'm not mad about it. We got a lot of Sunday 1 o'clock games. This was last year. Well, this year, it's mixed around. We do have one primetime game. Canales, what do you think about it?
Well, I just love the opportunities to be able to play those types of games. You know, there's a couple of extra cameras, and you get to play under the lights, playing against a great opponent. And those are the types of games that we need, to become who we are. And the challenge is to go on the road, go across the country, and really feel the high stakes games. As we build this and we compete to win the division, the hope is that we are working ourselves into the mentality of like, this is another game. We go about our preparation and our work the same way, so that we can go out there and just play our best.
Those Canales on his views of a primetime game and how they earned it. And, I can't call him Steady Eddie because his name is Dave. So I got to think of something else that rhymes with Dave. But he continues to be a steady, consistent coach. And I've said this for a while that I like him as a fit for this team just because I like the consistency. I like the messages. I like the positivity. I like the criticism. I like the way that he manages having relationships with players so that he can be critical of them. Lots of things that I like about Dave Canales that, I'm cheering for him, hoping that it works out the way I think it is, and we can have our guy for a while. But that's him talking about the primetime games. And yesterday, in case you missed it, please go back and watch that video. If not, just to help support independent media, give me another view, help that video be shown to more Carolina Panther fans. But what jumped out to me was 2 things. One was the first 3 out of 4 games. Again, Jacksonville first, Arizona, and then back in Charlotte. And then back on the road again in week 4 with the Patriots. So that was the first thing that popped out to me was that first 3 out of 4. And then the next thing that jumped out at me was the very tail end. It was a week 14 bye, followed by finishing the season playing 3 games against teams that made it to the playoffs in last year. So that was what jumped out to me when I first looked at the schedule yesterday. Ask you guys what jumped out to you. But Dave Canales today talked about what jumped out to him as a head coach about this schedule.
I look at things as opportunity, you know, and so I thought to me what stood out was 6 non-division games in a row, and to be able to see some different opponents, you know, to see, you know, there's new coordinators around the league, you know, to get familiar with different styles of defense and the things that'll be thrown at us from divisions that we're not really familiar with, you know. So I look at those things as those are kind of like the teaching points of like, while they try to attack us with this a different way, or you know, to kind of take those learning lessons and stack those things as we kind of settle into seeing a lot of divisional opponents, you know, after that 6 game stretch, you know, to finish. So
So yeah, so what stood out to Dave was, man, that stretch of all these non-divisional games is a long time. But he did kind of comment on the two things that I had noticed yesterday, which is again the opening 3 out of 4 in the road. But he says, I know how it may look on the outside, but you know, Dave, I like him as a coach because you do need to spin things appropriately to continue to have your team with the right mindset no matter what you have to do. Right, you never want your team saying, oh my goodness, we got to do this, whatever this may be, because that's the life of the NFL. It's a grown man sport. Put on your big boy pants and you just have to roll with whatever's there and not bellyache about it. But those first 3 games, I'm sorry, 3 out of 4 road games is an opportunity for the team to gel, right? He brought up the perspective of this: when they travel, that's actually a bonding moment because now these guys are spending more time together. You got the bus ride to the airport, you got the plane ride, then you got the bus ride to the hotel, and then everybody's staying at the same place all day long, and guys go out to eat. So it builds camaraderie. It's a chance for this team to gel, like, which is a good thing. So early on, they do get that opportunity to get that time together and gel, learn to be each other's brother in the sense of when they're going and they're playing these road games, they don't have that 70, those 70,000 fans aren't caring about the Panthers. They got to rely on themselves, their bench, their teammates to bring them up. So he likes, looks at it as that opportunity for the team to continue to grow. And then about that late bye week, well, he says it's like a good break because now you get ready for that fourth quarter. You get one chance to catch your breath, and then you got this last quarter of the season. You got these last 4 games that you'll be able to have that recharge from the bye week and go strong and go hard and see where this team can be. Can we finish strong and make the playoffs? I know Thomas has commented about the team making the playoffs, and yeah, that could be helpful. So um, this team, you know, with the 18 games, 18 weeks, 17 game schedule, we used to have 4 games. Now we have 3 preseason games, and now preseason games have really turned into teams barely playing their starters at all. Right? It's not the most entertaining football to watch because so many teams have now gone towards joint practices. We had them 2 years in a row with the Jets and Aaron Rodgers. This year we do know that we're going to have them with the Browns, but could we have more joint practices?
Kevin Stefanski and I have, you know, worked back and forth, kind of sending each other practice plans to make sure that it's an appropriate practice for where we're at in training camp in terms of what we can manage and the load that we can handle, you know. And then, you know, we're reaching out to Houston and Pittsburgh as well to kind of see, you know, what the level of interest for those guys are. Think about, you know, having a joint practice with Houston in that heat, you know, and getting the acclimation. It'll be hot here, you know, but I know I was in Tampa for a year. I've heard Houston is very similar. So just being able to get some acclimation, again, just another great way to just challenge the guys to maintain focus in a different type of environment. So we're open to, you know, those things with the Texans and the Steelers.
So you see what he talked about there? Same thing I talked about the other day, which is with that first matchup against Jacksonville. And I said, this is not an automatic loss because of this, but I just want to tell you things to consider. It's hot and humid, right? So it could be some sloppiness. So Dave, in my opinion, is kind of already thinking about that because he's saying, hey, it would be good to get a preseason scrimmage not scrimmage, I'm sorry, a joint practice with the Houston Texans, aka getting you ready for week 1 when you go down in Jacksonville and you have to prepare for the same situation. So joint practices are good. Coaches love them more and more because they can really work on scripting situations that you cannot forced to happen in a preseason scrimmage. You know, you just kind of take what happens. But coaches, as you hear there, they work together quite a bit for joint practices to try to both sides get the best out of it. So that's Dave Canales in a nutshell, his thoughts on the schedule release that came out yesterday and when and where the Carolina Panthers are going to play. So one other bit of news that I want to share with you all that's really more of a big NFL news, right? NFL #1 sport easily in America, and they continue to say we want to be bigger. We want to be not only #1 in America, we want to grow North America, South America. We want to grow globally. And so they've been smart about this, knowing that, hey, everybody can't play football, but everybody can play flag football, men and women. Yeah, I won't say everybody can't, but you'll get more participation from people when you introduce flag football. And so the NFL embraced that years ago, this flag football thing, because it is a growing sport for a lot of people to do recreationally. Charlotte Vibe had a flag football team many, many years ago. I don't know how many people may remember. I wish I had a photo I could put up on the screen really quickly. God, we had the best uniforms. But nevertheless, flag football is a way for the NFL to continue to embrace and grow the sport. And so they will be voting next week, the NFL owners, on allowing NFL players to participate in the first ever flag football Olympics that will be out in Los Angeles. You know, you've had many guys say they'd love to participate in it. Guys like Tyreek Hill, guys like Patrick Mahomes. You got to think Patrick Mahomes would be awesome in flag football. But I will say this. Flag football is still different in that it's not necessarily going to be the best flag football players are the pros. Like if you've played, you know what I mean? Like there's different techniques that are used to really excel at flag football. But nevertheless, they will be voting next week on the proposal of allowing players to play in the Olympics for their countries. It could be a maximum of one player per team. So like you won't have Patrick Mahomes and Kelsey out there. It's one player per team, and then you get the international players. So that is some news that will materialize next week in terms of exactly if the owners will allow it or not. And I think the tush push is also back up for discussion next week as well to see if that's going to be allowed, which, is interesting, right? It's things that they're talking about right now in the league. I hope everybody appreciated and enjoyed the show. Do me the favor that I always ask you to do. Hit that like button. Help us continue to grow. I'm going to bust my tail to get to 20,000 subscribers. 3 preseason games. Training camp is closed to the public for the next 2 years. So what are you going to do? How are you going to see practice? How are you going to figure out what's going on? Tune in to Charlotte Vibe. I've been doing it for 2 years now, where immediately after practice, I will run inside, upload the practice videos. It's not the full uncut videos, but it'll give you a really good idea to see what happened during practice. So you can find that here. Subscribe, tell a friend, like it, leave a comment. Thank you, everybody, for joining. What's up, Ali Bodrick? I see one of my members joining me as I get ready to end the broadcast. Chris Jenkins, credentialed member of the Media Covenant, Carolina Panthers for Charlotte Vibe. Everybody have a good evening, and thanks for joining me.